The world moves quickly when it doesn't want to think. Decisions feel easier when they're made early. Labels even easier. In this room, the conclusion arrived before the evidence. No one asked what was true, only who would carry the blame. Because judgment offers something thinking does not: relief. Immediate, unquestioned, and dangerously convincing. The louder it becomes, the less anyone feels the need to examine it. Judgment is the cheap thrill of the undisciplined mind. It is fast, it is loud, and when no one stops to think, it is almost always wrong. While they argued, I stopped listening. Noise doesn't clarify anything. It only hides what matters. So I looked at what remained when the noise was removed. The small details, the parts no one reacts to. Because facts don't compete for attention. They don't interrupt. They don't persuade. They just wait. Most people never reach them. They stop at what feels true and call it thinking. But logic doesn't feel anything. It doesn't respond to pressure, and it doesn't adjust for comfort. It only reveals what's already there. I didn't step forward to argue. There was nothing left to debate, so I introduced the only thing the room was missing: a single detail, placed where no one could ignore it. Not loud, not dramatic, just accurate. That's the part most people avoid, because thinking takes effort, and effort doesn't feel as good as certainty. So they choose the version that demands less of them, and defend it like it's truth, until something small proves otherwise. Then the room went quiet. Not because it was resolved, but because it no longer made sense. The certainty they started with couldn't survive what was in front of them. So it disappeared. Not all at once, but enough to change everything. That's the cost of not thinking. You commit early and spend the rest of the moment defending it, until something simple forces you to see it again. No one said anything. There was nothing left to argue. The answer was already there. They just hadn't wanted to see it. That's how it usually happens. Not through force, but through correction. Once it's clear, the noise disappears, and what's left is harder to face. Because being wrong isn't the problem. Realizing it is. Clarity doesn't stay in noisy places. So I left. Not to prove a point, but because there was nothing left to understand. Once it's clear, you don't need to argue it. You don't need to defend it. You move on. Most people won't do that. Not because they can't, but because thinking takes effort. And effort is easier to avoid than it is to accept. Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge.